What's up, everybody? Today we're working on a BMW. It's a 2010 750LI. We're going to be doing a suspension air compressor on it. As you can see, the tire sunk down. I got it up on jack stands right here. And we got it diagnosed as an air compressor on here. It isn't pumping up, it isn't turning on, and I've checked all the fuses and all that good stuff. There it is right there, 750LI. Like I said, it is a 2010. So the air compressor lives underneath the car. Right here in this cover, you can see some of the lines going to it. To get to it, you'll have some of these little clips to pull out, and then two little 10mm rubber or plastic 10mm right there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to gather up some tools and we'll show you all how to do it. And I do have the part right there, and we are out on location doing this in the field, I guess you could say. So like I said, without further ado, let me gather my tools and we can get to pulling all this stuff off, and I'll show you all how to do it. We do have some 10mm right here, if I can get my wrench on there. They are just little plastic 10mm nuts. So remember, when you go to tighten them back up, do not crank down on these, because you will strip them out really easy. And there's one on each side. Once you break them loose, normally you can start threading them off by hand. Next, we use our pop rivet, or a little pop tool. Just pull them out a little bit and they should pop right out. And that's what they look like. And this one has 3. I can't remember, but I think on some of the newer ones they may have 4. I can't remember. Once you have that, just pull it down. And here is your, I'll show it to you. Here's your compressor right here. Then you have an air block right there as well. Should have a connector on that. And this right here is brand new. We've already replaced that. So the hardest part now is we're going to have to unbolt it from the bracket, and then we will pull this whole air compressor down. There's a connector right here. Ooh, it can get a little tight sometimes. Alright, and then should have a, I think, a breather line if we can get it out. See if I can pull it off. Normally they just pull right out, but this one isn't doing it. So let me see if I can get it pulled out by hand. Well, I'm probably going to have to lower it down just so I can get a better grip on it, but I'm going to take these 2 bolts right here out. They look like they're torque spits, which I did bring my torque spits with me, so that's a good thing. And let me grab it to see which one it is. So those are T25s. We're going to take those off real quick. Let's see if I can get y'all in there. Alright. Yep, those are T25s. But they go into plastic, so they're going to be a little tight. So there's a feed line right here from the air compressor. To pull that out of it, you want to have this little port right here. You just push in on it a little bit, and then it should pull right out, because it's just like a push connector on it. And if you look right there, that's another connector that goes to your compressor. Pull that out too, and if you look, it should be 4 10mm that hold this on. Right here, right there, and then there's 2 more on the back side, because I'm going to bring it down and take it off of the bracket and all that stuff. It's just going to be a little easier for me to do it that way, and then that way I can kind of look up in here and get an idea of what is holding this big line right there on. So let me pull this off. Like I said, it's just 4 10mm, and there's 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Okay, so we got it down right here. As you can see, I got the hose off. It is just a little barb fitting right there. So, and you got this little air filter right here as well, and you may have to switch that over, which it should be a barb fitting also. It just may be tight. Okay, so to take this off of the bracket, you're going to have these torque spits, big nuts right there. And yeah, you can do it without pulling this whole bracket off, but I like to pull it off just so I'm not fighting with it trying to put it back on, because it does get a little cramped up in there, and it's just easier for me to do it this way. And also, this bracket can only go on one way. You can see you have the 2 wide space ones in the front, 2 narrow ones in the back. So let me get the new one. These compressors are not cheap, no means. I think like a factory BMW compressor is over $1,000. This is a Cardone compressor. Is it right here? You can see, we're going to double check, make sure everything looks the same. I'll get your part number here shortly. So it should go something like this. So that fitting right there isn't barbed. Have an air fitting come out of there. Then this one is for that one. That's that. There's that one right there. Yeah, for the most part, it should work. Just make sure everything lines up on the front. Alright, so what I'm going to do is take this compressor off of here, undo all these connectors, undo all the air compressor lines, because that's where one of them goes right there. So I'm going to swap everything over. Whenever I get it back on the bracket for you, I'll show you what it looks like. We got it all back together now, and the way you put this connector on the back, you have to twist it and turn, and it should come right out. I'll show you real quick. You just twist it to the back and it pops out, and then when you put it in, you just stick it straight and turn it back like that. And it's pretty easy, pretty simple. And I did have to take where this airline was in, had to thread out that connector. There was a brass collar on the back I had to pull off of the airline to actually get it out, because you couldn't press it in and pull it out. Or you could even take it out and thread it into the new compressor, whichever one you like to do, whichever is easiest for you. But I decided to pull it out and put it in to the new one, just in case there was any air leaks or any issues with it on that end. But there are torque spits on the bottom of these little insulators. You will have to transfer the rubber over as well. And that right there is a T30. The top is a T27. I thought it was a T25. It's actually a T27 on mine. And transfer it all over and tighten it down. You know, you ain't got to crank down on them or anything, just until they really touch. And that's pretty much it for putting it on the bracket. Now what we're going to do is slide it all back in and plug it up and see what happens. But I'll put it up in there and like hook up the hose and all that stuff, and then I'll show me actually putting it in there and threading one bolt at a time to get it to hold, because it can be a little tricky to do, and I'll show y'all how I do that. So I'll just put 2 nuts on there just to hold everything. Then I can get the last 2 on there as well. I already put this big feed line in. The front 2 are the easiest ones to get to, just because there's no lines really in the way if you take off the valve block. The back ones aren't hard to get to, it's just you got a couple lines in the way. I know it might be a little dark, and sorry about that. There we go. Just want to double check my lines are in there pretty good. And now what we can do is make sure the sensors are correct. Let me pull this out real quick. That one connected. This one's having a hard time. Of course it is. Oh, there it goes. It was just a little tight. Well, my helps I put it in the right location. Alright, now we can hook up this airline real quick. And we just push it in and pull back on it a little bit. And now we can get those T25s back into the valve block. Just like to get both of them started before I tighten one of them down. Alright, and we'll tighten these down. These can be a little tight going back in, even though they've already had the threads cut into them. They're pretty coarse thread on these things. And it's just going into plastic. So once you feel it get bottomed out, stop right there. And it feels like it's going in crooked. Sometimes they're not. Like I said, it's going into plastic that didn't have any threads cut into them, and the bolt is what's actually cutting the threads. And these, like I said, this was changed at one point, so those are still new threads in there. Now we got everything hooked back up, we can put the cover back on it. Alright, there we go. Get to play with it a little bit just to get it to really start, because it's a real snug fit on these. Where are you? Get in there. Here's the part number right here. I wanted to get that for you before I closed out the video. It is a Cardone unit 4J-2012C, and like I said, these right here are about a third the cost of a BMW original one. I think the BMW ones are anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800 depending on what car you have, and I think I paid about $500 for this one at the time. This may have come up or down since then, since I've purchased this, but that is it right there. This is pretty much going to end this video. That is how you do one of these right here. It calls for 2 hours of labor to do it. As you can see, it's nowhere near that to do, but BMW normally charges about $700 to put one of these on in my area that I know of, and that's not including the part. With the part, I think they charge about $25. But we're going to fire it up and stuff, make sure everything's going good. But I'm just going to close out the video here because I was just going to show the installation procedure. If y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the comment, please hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell if you have not yet. And I do appreciate y'all viewing this. And until next time, y'all have a great day.